Michael Zambito.
I was born in Washington, D.C. Born and raised, I grew up with my father, who was in organized crime. 7 years old, I'm in second grade. Our homework assignment is to come in the next day and tell what our father does for a living. I go home, I ask Mom, without batting an eye, Mom says, well, your father's a bookie, of course. And I said, a bookie? I smiled and scampered off. The next day, in class, I get up in front of the class and proudly say, my dad works so hard every day. He's on the phone all day long, writing down numbers and sometimes really funny words. My dad makes math books. I had no idea what a bookie was. Fast forward. I'm 20 years old, my second year of college. It's the fall, it's midterms, it's a Saturday morning. My dad calls. Dad never calls. I pick up the phone. Mike, I need you to come home right now. Tony's put a contract out on me. I was supposed to place a bet for him Thursday night at the horse race track. $200. It was the fifth race. The horse was 70-1. The horse wasn't going to come in, win, place, or show. 70-1. Next day, Friday, I get the Washington Post. I look at the horse racing results. This horse came in last. So Friday, about 12 o'clock, Tony calls me. Where's my money? I said, there's no money. Your horse came in last. We go back and forth. Tony says, my horse came in first. The race was fixed. I want my money. I'm putting a contract out on you. By Monday, somebody's going to walk up behind you and blow your brains out. Click. My dad then calls me. I don't know. His plan is, I was always Uncle Tony's favorite. Tony was my Uncle Tony, by the way. He wasn't really my uncle. There was a lot of guys I called uncle who weren't really my uncles. His plan was, I was always Uncle Tony's favorite. His plan was, come on down, Mike. I got the money at my store. Take it to Uncle Tony. You got to be there by 5 o'clock. That's when he closes on Saturday. Give him the money and lie. Lie and tell him you placed the bet. Tell him you had the money and I didn't know. I said, all right. He was just about to hang up the phone when all of a sudden, almost out of the blue, as an afterthought, he says, Mike. And I said, yeah. He says, you got to go by the farm. The farm was an old dairy farm. It had closed a dozen years ago. Dad bought it for really cheap. Big white dilapidated barn. It was about an hour outside of the city. I was like, why do I got to go to the farm? He said, well, I had a business there on the side. I said, well, what was the business on the side? Why do I have to go there? He says, well, the business was stolen lumber. 3 hours after Tony called, all of a sudden a detective shows up at the store. A detective with the manager of the local giant home improvement store. The coincidence was too obvious. Tony called the cops on me. They were looking for the stolen lumber. They wanted to come into the store. I said no. The detective said, well, we're coming back Monday with a search warrant. My dad says, look, go by the farm. All the lumber was in the barn. I sent Will up there. I sent Andy up there. We got to burn it all before Monday. We've got all weekend. Just go by and see how they're doing. I was like, okay. Then he says, hey, love ya. Hangs up the phone. I'm like, oh yeah, it's another weekend with Dad. Drive down from college. I'm driving up the dirt road to the farm. there is a pile of wood there. I thought it'd be a pile of like a car or a truck. The pile of wood is the size of a tractor trailer. It's huge, and it's not stacked. And this is beautiful, brand new wood from the home improvement store, who will remain unnamed. I pull up. As soon as I open my door, the odor of gas hits me. Gasoline is poured all over it. There's Andy. There's Will. Andy's in his pickup truck. He rolls down the window. He says, "Finally, you're the first one here. It's about time." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He throws me the pack of matches. He says, "Good luck." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, where are you going?" He says, "Look, we got the police on one end. We got the family on the other end." He says, "This is a lose-lose situation. We want nothing to do with this." He hit the gas, sped out of there so quickly, I'm standing there alone, miles and miles of farmland. It was the fall, so everything was cut and flat, with this giant pile of nice lumber. I hit the match, I light it. It is humongous. It is 5 stories high, the flame. I have to run back. It is so hot. It is so high, the flame. I stand there for a few minutes. Then all of a sudden it hits me. Oh my God. Every policeman within a 20-mile radius is seeing this. I'm expecting the police cars to come up the farm road and come and arrest me. I stand there for a half hour. Nobody comes. Finally, it dies down to about 1 story high. And by the way, the wood burns really fast. I get in my car, I leave. I go to Dad's store. I pick up the money. It's in an envelope. By the way, 70 to 1 odds, a $200 bet, that's $14,000. I was surprised. It was only about as big as a half a loaf of bread. It was all 20s. I drive down to Uncle Tony's store in Georgetown, Washington, D.C. By the way, everybody seemed to own a store in my family, and everybody was my uncle. I walk into Uncle Tony's store. It's 4:30. I'm just in time. Uncle Tony has a smirk as soon as he sees me. All I remember about the whole transaction is it was so quiet, the silence. I don't know if it was me or not. God, it was quiet. I walk up, I put the envelope on there, I start telling him my lie. He holds up his hand. "Michael, I know what's going on. Look, you're a good boy. Don't worry about it." I stand there, kind of look into his eyes, and I said, "Should we count it?" Uncle Tony laughed. He said, No. He said, "I'm sure your dad has counted it many, many times. I'm sure it's all there." I walked out. Again, the silence. That's all I remember. And we're in downtown D.C. I walked out, drove home. Uncle Tony did cancel the contract. The detective and the store manager and some police showed up Monday with a search warrant. The search warrant was for my dad's store. There was nothing in there. Nothing became of it. They knew nothing about the farm, which was almost an hour outside of town. Years later, I graduate from college. I'm an accountant. I'm working. I can see they're grooming me. I have to get away. I have to get away to some place that is so far off the map, they'll never call me. They'll never come by. I just got to get away from the dysfunction. Seriously. We had visited Myrtle Beach several times, my wife and me. We moved to Pawleys Island in 1996, and we've lived there ever since. Nobody's ever called me or come by. We've raised 3 children here. Georgetown County has been very good to me. Thank you for listening to my story.